Welcome to another edition of Jack Daniels Presents Pili, Raúl La Música as we are kicking into our third season. Pili, how you doing? How's season 3 treating you so far?
It's treating me so well. We started with Setangana, who is one of my favorite new artists. And now we're moving on to a really cool LA-based band called the Marias. And for me, they're kind of like the epitome of coolness. Yeah, that describes Maria and Josh from the Marias for sure.
Absolutely. And you being from Puerto Rico have the kind of connection with Maria. And Josh being from LA, being a native, kind of like me, we have that connection. So there's a little bit of that kind of parallel. It's the Marias as opposed to Las Marias. It's Pili, Raúl, and La Música. So we're kind of like on that same vibe. But yeah, this is definitely one of those artists that we knew were going to be huge and just become something really, really big. And in this episode, we obviously talk about how they connected, obviously the new record, which is fantastic. You definitely want to check out Cinema. And, even fun things like talking about cantors and the Gabitz Room.
Yeah, and we also talk about their creative process and, who's good at what and who is challenged by who, which I think is always really cool when we're talking about dynamics within bands. So check out this left of center alt pop band based out of LA. Here is the Marias on Jack Daniels Presenta, Pili, Raúl La Música.
So we're excited because 3 is our magic number. We basically are getting into our third season, our third year of Jack Daniels Presents Pili, Raúl La Música. And 3 years ago when we kind of started, we started this wish list of artists that we really wanted to interview. And back then, really just kind of on the come up was this band that we're going to get into right now. And our third try is a charm because we've attempted this interview a couple times prior, but third time's a charm. So 3 seems to be our magic number, and we welcome the Marias to Pili, Raúl, and La Música. Yes. Welcome, guys.
Woo-hoo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
We only do it on the third time.
We get it. It's a magic number.
That's my favorite number. So I'm like 3. It's gonna work. It's gonna work on 3. So welcome, Josh. Welcome, Maria.
Thank
you. Thanks for having us.
Maria, you're Puerto Rican, just like me, Boricua. You were raised in Atlanta, and Josh, you're a LA native. And you guys met at a gig where, Josh, you were managing the sound, right?
I was, yes.
How was your sound different before you guys met? And then how did both of your individual sounds kind of changed once you started collaborating with each other?
Before we met, I was definitely more into like psych rock and like loud guitars and heavy hitting drums and, that type of stuff. And then I met Maria and she just chilled me out. She was like, bring it back a bit, like relax a bit. And for me, that's, I think, how I changed. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think I was the opposite. I was very chill, and Josh just kind of like put some more tempo into the songs that we were writing together. One of the first songs that we collaborated on was Ruthless, which is on Super Clean Volume 2. And that song, I had written it just very chill and like acoustic guitar. And he was like, no, like we need to add tempo to this. We need to, make it a dance song. And I was like, whoa. But, so at first, our collaborative experience was sort of like meeting in the middle. But then we found this really nice pocket where both of us felt really comfortable in, me with a little bit more tempo and Josh with a little bit more chill.
Wow.
Maria was bringing in kind of like the island vibe.
Yeah.
Right? And Josh was bringing in the city vibe. Now you guys meshed it together perfectly, and that's how you became the Marias.
Exactly.
And found your own sound.
Yep.
Love it.
well, then we fast forward to like about 4 or 5 years ago, and a demo version of I Don't Know You starts floating around, and our good friend Chris Doritas over at KCRW starts playing it. And he also passes it on to me, and he says, "Oh, you got to check out this band, the Marias." And as soon as I heard it, immediately I started playing it as well. But just describe that feeling when just a demo mix of a song floats out, and that ends up being on the radio?
I remember it like it was yesterday that I was working at a restaurant in Santa Monica, and I got off at like 1 a.m. and just exhausted. And I get a call from Josh saying that I Don't Know You is on the radio. And I didn't care that it was 1 a.m. on the radio. I just cared that it was on the radio. And it was just the best feeling that this demo, that it was just a demo, like you said, that we made in GarageBand, that it was playing on the radio. It felt so good after working all night. I was like, okay, life is moving in the right direction.
For me, I was more worried that it was still a demo, and I was like, well, I guess I was kind of in denial that there was time to fix any mixes, and I was like, no, we can still do it. We can still change a couple things, and like then it just kind of got bigger and bigger, and I was like, okay, I see where this is going.
I've been at countless panels and discussions at different conferences, and that's one thing I tell like a young and up and coming artist is like, make sure your song is finished, it's ready to go, and it's, you know, it sounds on point, and you guys mixed it beautifully. And this kind of is the opposite of what I've talked to for years and decades.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that goes to show how great it sounded.
Yeah, I think with this song in particular, it just sounded better as like this demo, you know, because we did, after it was still playing on the radio, we did, you know, go into the studio and re-record vocals and like tried adding some stuff, but it just didn't retain the same essence as the demo.
You were trying to fix it when there was nothing to be
exactly.
fixed.
Yeah, I think you're right. And
There was a lot to be fixed, in my opinion, but
Well, we
yeah.
loved it. We loved it. We loved it then. We still love it now.
yeah.
You know, your partnership kind of began writing songs for TV and movies and film, cinema.
exactly.
Yet it never really happened. But what prompted you guys to release them anyway? And were there any expectations around the release?
Well, we had worked really hard on all of the songs that we had written for these TV and film pitches, and we both liked them. You know, maybe they didn't work in the particular, you know, scene that the music supervisor needed them for, but you know, from our perspective, they were great songs that we had worked really hard on, and they were really special. So we were like, you know, we have to release these and see what happens.
And there's a confidence to that too. Did you always feel that confident?
No.
I mean, early on, it's
Josh is like, I still don't.
Yeah, I don't.
no, for sure. But I think early on, because we didn't have anybody listening to our music, nobody knew who we were. I mean,
Yeah,
even
no
with
pressure.
no pressure, even with I Don't Know You when it was playing on KCRW, you know, people said that they were trying to look us up online, and we didn't have any social media at the time. Like it was just a band name and some songs. And, you know, so it was no pressure, no expectations. We definitely didn't expect for a lot of people to be listening to those songs. We just personally liked them and had worked hard, so we wanted to go through the exercise of putting them out into the world.
Right. Well, and just to be like, okay, it was worth something. You know, we're not just going to keep them for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have felt like a huge waste if
For
we
sure.
hadn't
Right.
done anything
Right. Of
with
time
them.
and, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of venues and places where people can kind of grow into themselves and develop this kind of artistic confidence as well. And meeting at the legendary deli at Cantor's at the
Yeah.
Gabitz Room, you know, it's like, for those who've never been to that little intimate room, just describe it real quick.
Think of a dive bar in any city in America, and now give it some history and put a 6-inch stage in there. Might as well be 6-inch by 6-inch.
Right. Teeny tiny.
Very small. Sort of like you walk in and you automatically feel like everyone there is
A
a
local,
usual.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got charm for sure. It's got a distinct smell too. Like I know the Gabitz Room smell. You go in there once and you're like, oh, is this you'll go somewhere else.
It's
You're
like
is this the Gabitz Room? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
legendary artists have hung out there having a beer or a bowl of matzo soup. You know, I've run into Beck there, different house producers, Rodney Bingenheimer of K-Rock, who's, of course, everybody kind of credits him as the mayor of the Sunset Strip kind of thing. But I bring it up because when you think of LA and tons of these like little iconic and relatively intimate venues, your sound definitely lends itself to that. And being from Puerto Rico, living in Atlanta, and now in LA, what does the LA vibe bring to the sound of the Marias?
Josh. In one word, it's Josh, because he was born and raised here in LA, and he's been playing in the music scene with Jesse, who's the guitarist in the band, since they were 12 or 13. So they're like, yeah, they definitely bring in the LA vibe.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of say for us, for me at least, because I mean I'm born and raised in LA, and I've lived here my whole life, so I don't really know much about like what it would sound like, if I was from LA. I would imagine it would sound pretty similar, because I think, it's just a personal trait, I guess, that's in the music, but it definitely has some input. I mean, I definitely learned a lot more about like the music industry, I feel like, just from living here, just from friends and parents of friends being, just like being in it. It's like
in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something in the air, right? And you can easily grab stuff from it. It oozes, and that's the beauty of LA and the music industry, and just the meshing of all these cultures and sounds and ideas. So it makes sense that you guys melded so well together.
And we're so happy that you guys included some Spanish songs in the album too.
Had to.
Like the fact that you guys are a bilingual band now, Josh, even though you don't, you're not fluent yet in Spanish, but did you always feel the liberty to add Spanish to the project?
It was in the project from day one, and it was part of like my songwriting process from day one. So the first song that I had ever written in my life was in Spanish, and then the second one was in English, and it just sort of unfolded from there, because being raised fully bilingual and bicultural is just part of who I am. And so having songs in both languages it just comes naturally, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's just me.
Well, and I love too the fact that you guys are, even though you describe your music as psychedelic soul pop, there's songs like Un Millón that I can hear the dembow, there's like a reggaeton vibe to it for sure. And then in Cinema, your debut album, I can hear so much influence too. There's like a little bit of everything in there. But I'm glad you guys are exploring with those Spanish sounds. Was that challenging for you, Josh?
Not really. I mean, it was challenging to, I feel like, really tap into it in general, because it was very new for me, as far as like...
Why? You didn't grow up listening to Daddy Yankee?
I did not, no.
I've introduced him to all the reggaetoneros.
Yeah, she has.
Nice.
And I'm
Any favorites?
I mean, I gotta say Bad Bunny at the moment. I think that was the first one that really like opened my eyes to reggaeton. And Don Omar.
I love Don
Very
Omar.
cool.
Don Omar is one of my favorites.
But it was challenging to do it in general, just because it was so new to me. But and I think it'll always be challenging. I mean, if we're gonna go there, it's kind of challenging to really make anything, but especially something that you're very unfamiliar with is.
Right.
It was fun. It was a fun
That's
challenge.
cool. Like you're willing to explore that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the first song we wrote together, like together, was Déjate Llevar, which is on Volume 1. And I had like kind of had this verse melody idea and like a chord progression, and it was very like, it's very like indie rock type of vibe. And it wasn't until Maria and I started working on it, I was like, what if it was in Spanish? Or maybe she said that. But either way, I was like, yes, like that is a cool idea. And from then on, I was like, yeah, this is a vibe for sure.
All right. Well, let's make it more challenging than right now. We'll do the rest of the interview completely in Spanish. Is that cool?
Yes.
Josh is all like, nope, I'm out the door.
Checking out.
No, you see, I love seeing you guys because, and every time I've seen you guys, there's always smiles, and it's like you guys are oozing sunshine, and I often say that we play to the sunshine when we're on the radio or DJing or whatever, but at the same time, I do hear those influences like you were talking about, the more kind of R&B, of Alicia Keys, D'Angelo, but there's also kind of that dark, mysterious, sound of like Radiohead. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure these artists have molded your sound. And in the current state of things, are there artists that you're kind of taking cues from these days or seeing kind of the direction of the vibe that's kind of influencing you guys?
Besides Bad Bunny.
Well, I like to say, like taking a look at like what we've covered, the covers that we've done in the past. So we've, covered Radiohead, we've covered Bad Bunny,
Right.
we've covered Britney Spears, Billie Holiday, Tom Waits,
Ink Spots.
Elliott Smith, Ink Spots, so it's like all of those are so different. But that's like, but all of them are still our influences. We're influenced by Radiohead, but we're also influenced by Britney Spears and Bad Bunny. So I think you can hear all of those influences on cinema for sure, and continue hearing like very eclectic, set of influences going forward too.
Maria, you've said that you're not very good at writing harmony. And I feel like humility is such a beautiful thing, and it's such a great characteristic, especially when you're in a band, to know what your strengths and your
Yes.
weaknesses are. How do you all like benefit from being that sincere with each other?
Because I think our strengths and weaknesses like are kind of karmic and complement each other in a way. So yes, I am not good. I can find the octave in anything, but like finding, the third or like the harmonies in between, I definitely struggle with at times, unless I have a little edible or something. But Josh, comes in and like he's amazing at finding like great harmonies. And like my strengths are more, melody and lyrics and kind of, I guess like overall feel. Along with Josh. I mean, he's good at everything, but yeah.
I would say it.
Everything, top to bottom, beginning to end. And
Except
yeah,
Spanish.
speaking, in on cinema, the song Un Millón, totally in Spanish, like we said. And yeah, it's got this very cool groove. And speaking of the writing, what are some of the memories from like Puerto Rico, or how did this help mold that song?
Well, when we agreed, that, okay, we want to make a reggaeton inspired Maria song, like what would that sound like? I knew that it had to be like a love song for Puerto Rico, and because I grew up, listening to a lot of reggaeton in Puerto Rico. So a couple of the cities that I call out in Un Millón, so one of them is Luquillo, which is a beach in Puerto Rico that my family and I would go to all the time. It was close to where we lived, and like it would be this whole family event. We'd like make the sandwiches in the coolers, go and have limber de coco or helado de parcha, so it was like this whole event. And a
Do you
lot
go
of
to the kiosks afterwards?
yes. And we would
Some
always
alcapurrias?
my mom literally would stop at every single one. She wanted chicharrones, like I didn't, I don't eat a lot of pork, but she would stop at every single one. Alcapurria, like even like the watermelon stands, like she would just stop at every single one. And a lot of fond memories in Puerto Rico with my family. And so I knew that Un Millón had to pay tribute to my love for Puerto Rico.
Well, I gotta go. Because
You-
all that
I
stuff
know, we
sounded
keep saying it.
fantastic. All that stuff sounded fantastic. I don't know what any of that is, and I'm Mexican,
Oh my
so I'm like,
God.
okay, I can understand a little bit of like, okay, chicharrón, I get it. There's a couple
Yeah,
of aguas
yeah.
and stuff. I understand that, but it sounds so good.
We're going to Puerto Rico on Saturday to see my family, finally, like post-pandemic. And like the only thing though is that Josh has that weird gene where he can't eat cilantro. So, and everything in Puerto Rico is made with cilantro. Everything, the base of everything,
Wow.
el sofrito has cilantro,
Yeah.
everything.
Oh man.
So he's gonna have a hard time, but I'm so excited.
Shout out to all
No.
my non-cilantro eaters.
Unite.
We get it.
Unite. Non-cilantro.
You're gonna have a
you're
blast
unite.
no matter what. So
Yes.
Raúl, and for those listeners who haven't been to Puerto Rico, Luquillo is on the east side of the island, and it's close to Fajardo, where my family is from.
Oh,
And they're known for this strip full of little kiosks,
Ah, okay.
and they all sell really unhealthy fried
Goodness.
delicious stuff.
tripleta.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. And then the beach is right behind it.
And this is your first time back since pandemic?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
my dad actually lives in Vieques. So
Ooh,
yeah.
you guys should shoot a video there.
I know. One day
Yes.
with all those wild
Yes,
horses, one day.
For sure. So, Cinema is your debut album. Congratulations. It's really such a beautiful piece of artwork from beginning to end. I love that the very first song, that intro, is just kind of like takes you into the journey. It starts the journey for you. And it's kind of unexpected too, because it's just melodic. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Whose idea was that, by the way?
It was mine.
Yeah.
Good one. Good one.
Thank you.
What surprised you guys the most about this new album?
I guess how epic the production was for me. It's kind of like one of those things, like I was in it and I wasn't really like, I couldn't take myself out and like look at it as a whole. And like each one I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then like once the album was done, even after it was done, I was just like listening to it and I was like, this is, damn, I didn't have to go that hard, But I did, and I'm glad I did. But it's definitely something I will, keep in mind for next time, to look at the bigger picture too. But I'm happy with the way it turned out, and I think it fits with, it's very cinematic for sure.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The label definitely speaks the truth there, and it's crazy that you say that you were like in it, and it's kind of tough to see that bigger picture kind of in an unbiased way, when you do it that way. Was that an issue, like at all, thinking like, okay, is this good? Is this final? Is this the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Literally every step of the way from start to finish, like nonstop voices in our head, like just full of doubt and second guessing everything. And it was really difficult because, we had the pressure of, okay, this is our debut album. We also had the pressure of having a bigger team, around us that, was helping to support us. Whereas in the past, it was just Josh and I who chose the songs, and we were like, all right, let's just put it out on DistroKid and kind of see what happens, But now with like a bigger team, there's definitely a lot more pressure to, to want to let them shine a little bit too, So
And having fans too.
yeah,
Because we didn't, fans wasn't a thing, especially for Volume 1. It was just, very us two locked away in a room, and then
Who's your friends and family?
yeah, friends and family, yeah. I mean, I think we had to remind ourselves not to think about, like the fans and like the people that are going to listen to it, and to try and just like do us. But it's pretty impossible to not think about it at least once,
yeah.
And it definitely crosses your mind, and then you start second guessing like, oh, well, this isn't like Volume 1, so maybe they're not going to like it, So it definitely took a lot to like get over that. And I don't know.
Well,
if
shout
we
out to
fully-
Gilgastellum, because that
Shout
guy,
out to Gil.
he has the ear, and I've been bugging him for years, or like as soon as I knew that you guys were working on an album, it's like, let me just hear it. He was so tight-lipped about it. He goes like,
Aw.
you'll hear it and you're gonna love it, like straight up, for somebody to say that, understanding, those are pretty heavy words, it's like, because we get bombarded with music, both Pili and I, with different radio shows and TV and whatnot. For somebody like Gil to say like, you're absolutely gonna love this record, that's pretty heavy duty. And sure enough, man, the guy speaks the truth. And as soon as we heard it from beginning to end, it's like, yeah. And it's crazy because it is kind of this from beginning to end concept album that it does have these cinematic themes, and it does have these dark and, and then the uplifting and all these different dynamics. But you hear it all come through. So that's why it kind of surprises me that being like just in it, and not like kind of stepping back and saying, okay, how is this coming together as a whole piece?
Yeah.
Your life has changed so much in such a short amount of time. Your followers and your fans first of all, they're both from the U.S. Hispanic world, because I have friends that are like, what? Oh my God, you're going to interview the Marias. Que cool. And then I have my friends from like Silver Lake, like who have no clue how to speak Spanish, who love the Marias as well. So it's great that you're tapping into both of these worlds. Mm-hmm. And it's opening up so many doors, but your life is completely changing. I mean, you guys have, your fans are hardcore.
Yeah, die hard.
Yeah. Like, is there fear around this? How are you handling this new life?
So much fear.
No, I think
understandably
I can see how scared you look. I can see it.
I think it's just, understanding that this is just kind of one thing that we do. It's not the only thing that we do. It's just like one thing that we do. Just like, there are doctors and teachers and like, it's just one thing that we do. And a part of that is having, people who, potentially look up to you. So in that sense, it is a little scary that people look up to you, because then you don't want to let them down. You don't want to make a mistake, But I think it's just remembering that's just one thing that we do, and it might not last forever. So just kind of live in the moment and just like cherish everything that is coming our way, for sure.
Yeah, it would be a lot harder if we were doing this like separately or alone. I think having Maria and like I think hopefully having me makes it a little easier to like talk it through and like not have to go through this alone.
Yeah.
Because that would be traumatizing.
Like the pressure then is like, it's kind of like diluted.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like a, spotlight on anybody, but it also helps that we have just like amazing support system. Like our friends and our family are like just amazing and so supportive. And we have really sweet fans, who are, love cinema, even though it's very different from Volume 1 and Volume 2, and understanding, that's kind of, if you are a fan of the Marias, that's just kind of something that you're going to have to deal with, because the next project is probably going to sound so much different than cinema. We get bored very easily. So we want each project to be its own thing and to sound different. So we have really sweet fans that I think are understanding that.
And that's cool. Yeah, keep us guessing.
Yeah.
Totally. And you guys bounce so well off of each other and the other members of the band. How much input have you guys allowed the other bandmates to join into what's the future of the Marias?
So they bring in like their own like amazing flair when we play these songs live, which we've started rehearsing this week and prior weeks as well. And it just comes alive in the live version.
What can we expect to see in the live version?
I don't know. You have to see it. but it changes, it changes so much when they get involved with the live portion, that so much that we're like, we should do like a live album, because it does sound different, but in a good way. And that's really where like Eddie and Jesse shine and like bring these songs to life, is when we play them live.
Definitely.
Oh, that'd be so cool to do a live album.
Yeah.
You guys would be great. And I mean, your tour for 2022 is insane. You guys are playing like every day for like 4 months.
I know, it's crazy.
It's going to be so cool though. We're so excited
fun.
for you guys. Congratulations on cinema. It's truly amazing.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for your time here on Pili, Raul La Música. One last question is, if you had the chance to do something and like make it count, something that you haven't done yet, what would it be?
I would love to, at some point in my life, direct a movie.
Ooh.
Well, you directed your newest video.
Yeah, we
co-directed.
Yeah. I've co-directed like most of our music videos, but I think a full hour and a half movie is a whole different ballgame that I'm so down for at some point in my life.
I can totally see like a Sofia Coppola vibe,
Yes,
coming. What's funny is
her.
because I was just listening to the Virgin Suicide soundtrack and hearing the music, hearing your vibe. I can totally see that happening. Wow, that would be super cool.
Yeah.
That's such a good movie too. I love her.
And Josh?
I would love to score that movie and then just like, and then just casually do a backflip after that. I don't know.
I Love it. All right. Thank you guys so much. We love you here at Pili, Raúl La Música. Raúl plays you on his radio station, and I play you guys as well.
Thank you so
on
much.
mine. So it's just a privilege to get to know you guys a little bit better.
Thank you.
We'll see you on stage soon.
Yes, I hope to see y'all soon. Thank you so much for the support and for the love. Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And yes, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, we had a very short list when we first started this podcast, and you guys were definitely at the top because we knew what was coming. So congratulations on everything and continued success.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
That was Maria Zardoya and Josh Conway from the alt pop band The Marias, right here on Jack Daniel's Presenta, Pili, Raúl, and La Música. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yes, and thank you for supporting and downloading, subscribing, telling friends, family, loved ones, all about this baby of ours that is Pili, Raúl, and La Música, and of course to Jack Daniels for supporting from day one as we're getting into our third season. Of course, Shure Microphones for making us sound excellent.
Yep, and make sure to follow us on Instagram. We do monthly giveaways. We also have really cool concerts that we'll be hosting, that we'll be giving out tickets for or discounts. So make sure to follow Pili, Raúl La Música on Instagram. And also we have a new YouTube channel where you can listen and watch past episodes of the podcast. So make sure to check that out as well. Subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff that we love. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, Pili.
Bye, Raúl.